Hi folks, right, welcome to your IPC learning for this week. So we're starting off with a learning target of to know how people affect the environment. Now this learning for this week ties in really well with the debate that we had on Thursday in the Zoom assembly, and it ties in well with Earth Day as well, and it ties in really well with Kenzuki's Kingdom. So here you've got a photograph of a beautiful desert island somewhere in the middle of the sea. So it says, just like the island that Michael found himself washed up on, here is a beautiful island in the middle of the large ocean. Here are some of the human and physical features of the island. So we learnt about that last week. So we've got a jungle, so thick kind of forest and jungle with plants and animals. A natural bay for fishing, so people living there will be able to go out and fish. Small freshwater stream, somewhere for drinking, washing. A small settlement, so a village of local people who have lived here for generations and lead a traditional life. A rare turtle breeding area, a natural white sand beach, a simple network of roads to get around the island, a coral reef which is home to numerous sea creatures. So it sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it? And we want to think about how tourists would affect this environment. So, if a hotel were to be built on this island, what would be the positive and negative effects on the island and the people who live there? So, somebody might want to build a resort like this. Okay, it would be a beautiful island to go and visit. But tourism could be a good thing for the island and the animals and people living there, but it could also be a bad thing. So we want to be thinking about the pros and cons, the positives and the negatives. So, for example, with that rare turtle breeding area, positive things could be, and this really ties in with what we were saying about the whale watching boats. Tourists will have the opportunity to learn about the turtles and why it's important to look after them, their habitats and the oceans that they live in. So people going and visiting and hearing about these turtles might actually not realise that they are rare and that they do need to be protected, and it might really change the way that they live their life. They might use less plastic. They might go and help these turtles. So it could be a really good thing to educate the tourists. Negative, by visiting the breeding area. So the turtles will often breed at night. They'll come up onto the sand, dig big holes in the sand and lay their eggs there. Okay, and what is amazing about turtles is they will go back to the beach where they were born to have their babies. So really amazing. So people, if they decided that they knew there were rare turtles, they might think that would be a really lovely thing to do on holiday, would be to go and watch these turtles. But by visiting the breeding area, the tourists might frighten the turtles, who may not return to that beach to breed. Consequently, their numbers may decrease, may go down, and they may become even more rare. Okay, so it might kind of, by going to sort of watch them, by going to see them, it might actually scare them, and that might affect them being able to have babies. So you can see that you've got two possible impacts here. So what you need to do, this is for the example of the turtle breeding area. You need to complete the table in your answer book, giving at least one positive and one negative effect of tourism visiting for each feature. So all of these features are in a table in your answer booklet, and you need to think about if there was a resort, if there was a hotel there and tourists started visiting, how might that be a good thing? How might it be a bad thing? Okay, and you'll have to kind of think quite critically about this. Think about bringing your general knowledge, bring in what we talked about last week, and see if you can find at least one negative and one positive. It might be able to come up with more than that, which would be a really great way of challenging yourself. Okay, so then on Tuesday, your job is going to be to design an eco-friendly tourist destination. Okay, so if we are going to build a hotel, a resort on that beautiful island, then let's have as many positive impacts as we can and as few of those negative impacts as we can. So if we know that it could be a good thing or a bad thing to have tourists on the island, let's make it overall a really positive thing and really help the environment and the people that are living there. So you've got to make a resort that will benefit the local people, so it'd be a good thing for the people that live there. It will protect the natural environment, so it will keep things as natural as they are, and make sure that tourists enjoy their stay as well. So you've got quite a lot going on there. First job is to click on this link here, and that will take you to a video all about a hotel or all about a resort that are doing just that. Okay, they have set up lots of different things to protect the environment, to make sure that their guests have a great time, and it can have lots of positive impacts. So don't forget to click on this, because that will give you lots of good ideas to help you with the work on Tuesday. So you've got all of these things. So there's limited fresh water on the island, and tourists will want to drink, have swimming pools, and the hotel will have lots of washing to do. So how are you going to protect that limited fresh water on the island? There's just that small stream. How are you going to have enough food for the tourists, and where will it come from? Okay, and if you're going to bring in lots of food by boat or by plane, or however you're going to get it there, what would be the impact of that? How are you going to protect those natural white sand beaches? So if lots of people want to go and visit those beaches, how are you going to keep them lovely and natural and as they are? How are you going to protect the local wildlife? So think about all the animals and the flowers and the plants that are in that jungle interior. How are you going to protect the fishing? Okay, so lots of fish there, and the local people living there will rely on that fishing as a source of food. So think about how you're going to keep that sort of minimum impact on that. How are you going to protect the local people and their way of life? Okay, because if you put a big hotel on there, that's going to potentially change their life in big ways. How are you going to make that a good thing for those people? How are you going to deal with all the waste and the rubbish produced by the tourists? So if you're going to have a hotel, think about how much rubbish is going to be produced. So how can you reduce the amount of rubbish, and what are you going to do with it? How are you going to protect the coral reef and the creatures that live there? Okay, how are you going to stop them being negatively affected by all those people? There is a table for this in your answer booklet as well. We'll have a go in Zoom times, having a go at discussing some of this as well. So make sure that you have done things like watch the video, make sure that you've had a good think about this as well, and the things that we talked about last week.